Hey guys, yeah, I got about 50 minutes before I clock in. Bus dropped me off early. But that's not what I'm here to talk about. What I'm here to talk about is the news that Clownfish TV recently reported. And that is the fact that we are getting a season 2 of Netflix's Masters of the Universe. The series animated by Powerhouse. Not the CGI series that's on there right now, but the one that got a lot of controversy. But this time around, it's not going to be called Masters of the Universe Revelation. Oh, no. Instead, they're going to call it Masters of the Universe Revolution. And that's all we really know about it. Right now is the fact that it's got a second season, it's got a new subtitle for the season, and that's about it. Now, here's the thing about the first season as far as a lot of us are concerned. The first season ended basically with Teela becoming the new sorceress, Adam by her side, basically hinting that they are now together. Andrea, I think that's her name, or Andrea, is the new man-at-arms or woman-at-arms. Skeletor is being turned into some kind of techno cyborg whose loyalty is to the Horde, which means we're going to see Hordak pretty much in the second season, because his image was shown when they were converting Skeletor. So we know all that's potentially going to be, if not will be, in the second season. However, even though we know that's all coming, a lot of folks, obviously, and I can sense this with Clownfish TV, Neon, and Geeky Sparkles, that there's still a bit of worriness, you know, in the tone of the voices. There's still a bit of worriness in the tone of the voices, and rightfully so. Rightfully so. I mean, I admit the first half of the initial season was not good. I mean, everything that they had reported that was going to happen, that Kevin Smith and others tried to deny, basically, you know, they tried to deny it, is what I'm trying to say. A lot of the things that Clownfish reported, because of the inside source giving them information, turned out to be true. And because those sources turned out to be true, the first half of the initial season got a mixed reaction. Now, even though the second half was a bit of a vast improvement, not much, but a bit of a vast improvement, you know, kind of shows that maybe those behind the series, including Smith, realized that, yeah, that, you know, this first half may not be what fans are expecting, but the second half hopefully will make up more for it, or more than ever make up for it, I should say. And it kind of did, but not really. It kind of did, but not really, because a lot of people look at the fact that it was not Adam, He-Man, that stopped Evil Lynn, or Sorceress Lynn, whatever she calls herself. It was Teela as the new sorceress, as the new, you know, as basically embracing her destiny. But of course, a lot of people said they had to F that up, because now Teela was going to be a sorceress that wasn't just going to stand on the sideline like her mom did. And instead, she was going to engage in battle. She was going to be there at Adam's side. She was going to be there at his side when he's He-Man to fight the good fight. And as I've argued before, there have been several times where the sorceress in the OG series did exactly that. And you can't deny that. She did exactly that. Maybe not as much as what is alluded to at the end of Revelation, which Teela plans to do, or wants to do, but still, you know, there's evidence out there. If you watch the OG Filmation series, which this is supposed to somewhat be a continuation of, the sorceress did fight in a battle or take part in fights and all that, and rescues when she needed to. She wasn't always in Castle Grayskull, even though at most times she was, I should say. There were other moments where she was doing more than that. And if you want more evidence of that, check out the 2002 series, and I believe she did a lot more there as well. But yeah, for all we know, like I said, it's the Horde, and Hordak is coming. Teela's the new sorceress who plans to do more than just her mom did. And Adam's going to be by her side, I guess them being an item now. Andrea is the new man-at-arms. And, you know, Skeletor is becoming, or being converted into a cyborg, or something like that. You know, but again, the worry that a lot of folks have is, are we going to have a repeat, you know, of Revelation? You know, is Kevin Smith not going to learn his lesson, and are we going to have a repeat? Well, that's for us to find out, because apparently, according to Clownfish TV, Kevin Smith is keeping this, you know, tight-lipped. Like, he's keeping this air sealed tight to the point that any sources that Clownfish TV or anybody else could get their hands on to give them information about what Revolution's going to be, you know, whatever sources and stuff they can, you know, try to get them, you know, they can get in contact with to give them information, ain't going to be, I guess, fortunate enough to do it, because Smith and his crew is going to keep this tight-lipped. They even say that the sources they had for Revelation went AWOL. In other words, I guess when word got out that these sources were leaking out information that they shouldn't be to places like Clownfish TV, you know, they basically exited, you know, the scene to avoid being caught. But yeah, we are getting a second season. It's going to be subtitled Revolution. And there are also going to be a lot of questions of, you know, besides knowing exactly what we're going to, you know, see as far as like what was hinted at, cliffhangered at the end of Revelation, there are other questions of who else could show up or what else we could see. I mean, there is one character that was talked about a lot in Revelation, and even was acknowledged as, you know, somebody that would, you know, show up, or did show up, I should say, or hinted at in the Filmation series. And I can't think of his name right now, but he's like the be-all, end-all. He's like the god, if you will, the true master of the universe. As far as Eternia is concerned, he's like the true master. He's like the sorceress's master, if you will. And he was brought up a lot, and people were wondering, you know, why wouldn't he just step in and, you know, end all this? Like, step in maybe when Teela was acting uncharacteristic, and then basically put her in a place or something like that. And yet we never saw him. We never saw him. I think he was hinted at, but we never saw him. And now people are wondering, whether or not we will probably see him in the second season of, you know, Revolution. Will we see him show up? And when, you know, like, let's say Teela now in her sorcerer's role wants to take part in the battle, you know, she finds out that she can't because some kind of force is preventing her from leaving, and then that's when this, you know, this master of the sorceress, this higher up, you know, basically makes his presence known and be like, where do you think you're going? And Teela could be like, I'm going to go join them in battle. Why? And she's, and this guy, or whatever, again, I can't think of his name, pretty much says, well, that's what you thought, but that's not what's going to happen, because you're the sorceress, you are destined to stay here. And even though that plot or subplot could be very Teela focused, you know, I could see something like that occurring. Like, Teela is all set to, you know, be her own sorceress, do her own thing, but yet she forgets about one thing, and that's the fact that, like her mother, she has to answer to a higher power. And that higher power is like, hey, you ain't going nowhere, kind of deal. So potentially with Revolution, we could see this guy show up. We could. There's no doubt about it. And again, it would make for a good sub-arc, if you will, subplot, sub-story in Revolution, to where Teela would have to confront him and be like, look, things have changed. You know, I'm no longer the same Teela I was in the past. I'm a Teela, you know, that, you know, is independent, that can do their own things, doesn't have to depend on someone like He-Man or Adam to protect them and all that. So, you know, that could make for a good sub-story. That can make for a good, like I say, sub-story, sub-arc, if this individual, if this higher power, again, I can't think of the name, you know, does make the presence known in Revolution, you know, finally. The other question, too, is with the hint that we're going to get Hordak in the Horde, does that mean we're going to get She-Ra? That is a good question. Now, we know She-Ra is getting a live-action series on Amazon, which is, I guess, going to be a reboot, but also stay faithful to the Filmation series and all that. We know that's happening. But who's to say Mattel won't want to bring her in for this one? Because, again, if you have Hordak and the Horde, that means, you know, eventually you would have to bring in She-Ra in some capacity, and maybe we see her. Maybe we do see her and everything, but, you know, that's up to, you know, Mattel. Well, you know, that's up to Mattel, I should say, and Kevin Smith and all of them, whether or not they want to incorporate her, despite the fact that we're getting, you know, a live-action series on Amazon. So that's something too people are wondering about. You know, will we get She-Ra, you know, in Masters Universe Revolution? You know, that is a major question. Will we get her? You know, because with the Horde potentially showing up, hard to say. It is hard to say. But I'll put it to you like this, though. I'll put it to you like this. If we get She-Ra, and this comes out around the same time that the Amazon series does, which I would assume is going to be 2023. I can assume that. Then that would be a celebration for She-Ra, if you will. It would be. Now you might say, how is that a celebration? Well, that's close to the 40th anniversary of the overall, well, yeah, it's basically the 40th anniversary of the Masters of the Universe animated series. Basically, next year will mark 40 years. So if we get, you know, Revolution debuting around that time, around the same time maybe, and potentially as, like I said, you know, the Amazon She-Ra series in celebration of 40 years, then yeah, I could basically see them, you know, incorporating her into the story. Kevin Smith could be like, well, I know she has an association with the Horde. That was the main antagonist in her series. I'm going to incorporate her. Now, we may not see her right off the bat, but if she is, you know, in the plans to show up, then that would be interesting, really interesting. I mean, you can even have her confront Teela and basically acknowledge to Teela that she knows about how Teela acted over the past several years when they thought Adam was dead, which he was for a time. You know, she saw how you know, you could have Adora She-Ra acknowledge that she's been going back and forth from Eternia to Etheria, you know, and when she would show up on Eternia, she would spy and see what's going on with everybody, and she would notice how Teela was acting. You could have her confront Teela about it and be like, look, I don't know why you acted the way you did and everything, knowing that you were going to have to go in this route anyway. You know, I don't know why you were so mad and everything. And perhaps you can even explain to her, look, I've kept my secret away from my friends, and when some of them found out, they didn't act like you did. No, they accepted my role. They accepted, okay, maybe you didn't tell us because it was for our own protection, or you felt we weren't ready yet. They could do that too. They could do that too if She-Ra is incorporated. And you know, you could have Teela, you know, maybe retort back that, you know, she understands that now, or that she understands that now, but because of everything they were going through emotionally, she just let her emotions get the best of her. So, you know, so you could have a confrontation between the two if She-Ra is incorporated, because the Horde's going to show up in this Revolution Season 2, or Master Universe Season 2 Revolution. You could have that happen as well. You can have that happen as well, I should say. But again, it's totally up to what Kevin Smith and his crew have in mind, and right now we don't know what that is, because like Geeky and Neon reported, you know, he's keeping it very tight-lipped. He's keeping it very tight-lipped, and when you start to keep things tight-lipped, even to the point that only certain people know about what you have planned, because you could trust them not to, you know, leak out the information, you know, that makes it even more difficult for people to wonder whether or not this is going to be an improvement over what you had originally given them in the past. That's what's going to be concerning for them, because they don't know what you're going to bring to the table. You know, and sometimes that might be a good thing, because, you know, it gives people like myself and Geeky and Neon and others time to speculate and wonder. But, you know, it's one of those situations right now to where, you know, Kevin Smith and his crew, they have to hopefully have learned from their mistake, learned their lesson, learned, you know, from the, you know, massive controversial reaction they got with Revelation, that if you're going to do a series that you're promoting as a spiritual successor, continuation, continuity-wise, to the original Filmation series, that basically you need to do just that. You cannot go out and change things about certain characters, about certain elements and all that. You need to stay true to what you're, you know, having the series succeed from or continue from in this new form of anime powerhouse animation, or in this new animation style, I should say. But again, hopefully, you know, that's something that they're taking into account. Now, again, like I said, you know, there's a lot of possibilities that could potentially happen, a lot of characters that could potentially show up, but we don't know who that's going to be just yet. And again, the only thing we know of is going into this is Teela's the new sorceress who's planning to be her own sorceress. We know Hordak and the Horde is showing up, Skeletor is becoming cybernetic, and we know He-Man, Adam, is by Teela's side, potentially as her husband, love interest, if you will, that, you know, is okay, all right, with her going into battle with him. But again, besides that, we don't know anymore. We don't know anymore about what's going to happen. And on top of that, there's a lot of other characters, like I said, that could show up. I mean, the person that's supposed to be like the higher power than, you know, what the sorceress was, basically her master, her boss, could show up and prevent Teela from doing what she said she was going to do, because, you know, she's meant to stay at the castle. You could have She-Ra show up and confront. You got She-Ra show up, you know, because Hordak's going to be there, and, you know, maybe even have a confrontation, you know, with Teela and say, hey, and even reveal that, hey, I've been watching how the way you acted, and even though I'm happy you finally have embraced your destiny and you realized how wrong you were, you know, you could still have her be like, you know, even though she's happy about that, and she's, you know, glad that, you know, Teela's realized the mistake she made, that Teela shouldn't have had to go that route anyway, that Teela shouldn't have acted the way she did, all because she was mad that nobody told her Adam and He-Man were one and the same. She should have accepted the fact that, okay, maybe I wasn't ready yet, you know, to learn that lesson, to learn that, you know, to learn that secret. And maybe you could have Teela admit to She-Ra that, okay, yeah, you have a point. Or even have her confront She-Ra. It's like, why were you spying on me? Why didn't you tell me you were around? And, you know, She-Ra could answer her like, well, because I knew you were in an emotional state at the time. I didn't want to, you know, potentially set you off and everything. But then you could have She-Ra, you know, tell her what she had, you know, or not tell her, but you could have She-Ra acknowledge to her what she had witnessed, you know, Teela becoming. And then, again, you could have Teela be like, well, she was an emotional wreck. She didn't know what to do. You know, she didn't know what to do. Her mind was just, you know, she was just emotional, and she was just an emotional wreck. And then, heck, if you want to, you know, make it very adult-like, just say she was going through her, you know, she was going through some very, she was going through a certain moment in a woman's life that she, you you know, even though they won't say the word, you know, would acknowledge, oh, okay, that's why she acted the way she did. Even though it would be a lame excuse as to why she acted the way she did, it would still be something. The point that I'm getting at, as ramblicious as it sounds, is there's a lot of possibilities coming into play here. There's a lot. But the only person that knows what's going on is Kevin Smith and those he could trust with the secrets of what he has planned for Season 2, Revolution. But right now, the only thing people worry about, like Clownfish TV, is are we going to have a repeat of Revelation? Hopefully not. Hopefully not. But again, when people look at the subtitle Revolution, that worries them too. Like, is this going to continue? Is this going to continue, you know, the woke message and everything that they did originally, you know, in the first one? And that's one thing that Kevin Smith has to keep in mind. Netflix, obviously, seeing all the negativity they're getting and everything that's hurting them financially, that's causing a lot of the stockholders to sue them and everything, and realizing, okay, we got to cut costs here and there to make our stockholders happy. We got to make these decisions as much as we don't want to make these decisions. Kevin Smith has got to keep in mind that this is not going to be the same Netflix that okayed Revelation. They're going to be like, look, we're okay with you doing a second season for us to air or showcase, but we're not going to do the same, but we're not going to do, but we're not going to have the series, you know, get the same controversial reaction it got previously, you know, with Revelation. That if you're going to do this, it needs to be straightforward. It needs to be a true continuation of what you originally said Revelation was going to be. So again, Kevin Smith has got to keep that in mind, that this is not the same Netflix as before. This is an entirely different Netflix. And if he presents to them something that's similar to Revelation, they're going to be like, no, 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 you're not doing that. You're going to do, you got to do something different. You know, so we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens, because again, you know, things have changed. Things have changed since, you know, Kevin Smith had Revelation debut on Netflix, and now with Revolution on the verge of debuting soon, you know, things are going to have to be different, and hopefully he realizes that, and that's why he's keeping things tight-lipped. But we'll see what happens. But again, you know, it's one of those situations right now to where, even though we know of a few things that are going to be in Season 2, you know, we don't know about anything, we don't know about everything, and we can only speculate about who else could show up because of some of these elements being added in, or basically being confirmed for Season 2. We can only speculate about who else could show up and everything, but, you know, that's, you know, that's about it. That's all we can really do. So, yeah. So yeah, to make this long video short, and I do apologize for it almost being 25 minutes, Master Universe Revelations getting a second season under the subtitle Master Universe Revolution. We do know of a few things that are going to happen, because they pretty much were confirmed at the end of the first season, and we can only speculate as a result of who else or what else is going to be in it. And we do kind of know that, you know, Kevin Smith, not know, but we kind of have an idea that Kevin Smith is going to have to be a little bit more careful of how he presents this second season compared to the first one, because this is an entirely different Netflix than before, and he's got to hopefully realize that. But what do you guys think? What are your thoughts on Revolution? How do you feel about this, you know, the second season, getting that subtitle for the series? Who do you think will show up that has not been announced because of potential other characters that have been confirmed and all that? You know, let me know down below in the comments, as well as in the live chat during the premiere, where super chats and super stickers, I should say, are opening would be appreciated, as well as the super thanks after the premiere will be enabled, so you can help me out there. But again, guys, let me know what your thoughts are in the comments, and until then, I am out.